everybody, and welcome to Sebring International Raceway. The preparations for the big race of the weekend, the Sebring 12 hours, the Mobil 1 Sebring 12 hours, well underway, and we're about to set the grid's positions for the big race. I'm John Hindhaugh in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre. Jeremy Shaw is alongside me. Our VP Racing Fuel pit and paddock reporter is Shea Adam, and that's where we'll go first after I tell you all about this brilliant raceway. Right in the centre of Florida, it has real history. 3 3/4 miles, 17 corners, a mix of tarmac and original runway concrete surfaces laid in huge blocks that down through the years have moved and shifted just a little bit, and that's why the hashtag for this place is respect the bumps. We're into qualifying mode here. It's the 15-minute sessions that will get us underway, but for the GT Daytona drivers, something just a little bit different this year. Shea Adam, our VP Racing Fuel pit and paddock reporter, explain to the assembled multitudes, please.
Hello, everybody. So for this first 15-minute segment, very straightforward. Your silver or bronze driver goes out and qualifies to set the grid position. So wherever you qualify in this 15-minute period, that's where you start the race from. Penalties and whatnot, making it through tech, all that aside. So right now in these race cars, we've got several drivers that we're used to seeing because they are the silver or bronze rated half of the Pro-Am lineup, if you will, because GTD is a Pro-Am category. Once this segment finishes, we then have a 10-minute gap as normal, and then we have another 15-minute qualifying session, which is GTLM. But in the GTLM qualifying session, we are getting anybody else who didn't go out and qualify in this session to then run with the Pro cars. So in theory, your AM driver goes out in the first 15 minutes, your Pro driver goes out in the second 15 minutes. Why do I say in theory? Well, because this is Sebring, where we have 3 drivers per car, not 2 like normal race weekends. So you have to change your drivers. Whoever does this first 15-minute segment may not do the second 15-minute segment. You don't necessarily have to change your tires, though. So there is a little bit of gamesmanship to be played because your tire choice comes out of your week allocation for the race. So it's going to be interesting to see who chooses to spend a new set of tires to try and gain more championship points, which is what the second segment is all about.
So, hang on, let me just ask the obvious question. So, who sets the grid position?
This session right now sets the grid position.
And what's the second one for?
Points. It's all about the points, baby.
Okay, points make prizes at the end of the day. Jeremy Shaw with me, John Hindhaugh, in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre, although of course we are very much socially distanced. Jeremy, welcome back to the broadcast booth. One thing that we know, that whatever has changed, what will undoubtedly stay the same in these qualifying sessions, is that it'll be very close in GT Daytona. Fractions of a second splitting the teams, and pretty much every manufacturer having a chance at the sharp end of the grid.
Yeah, exactly right, which is going to be fun. And of course, the Motul Pole Award will be given after this first of the 2 sessions for GTD. So that'll be the pole sitter of record will be whoever is fastest in this opening 15 minutes. And look, it's going to be it is pretty interesting, I guess, but it's certainly complicated, and I'm going to have to try and wrap my head around the whole thing. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out who to award the pole position to from the opening round of the season at Daytona, quite frankly. I think for my records, I'm going to say whoever it was who was quickest on the pole day for the qualifying race, which wasn't on race weekend. But you know, it is complicated, but it's going to be fun. And as you say, John, the times and the manufacturers are super closely matched in GTD, so it's going to be nip and tuck. And I think I would be very surprised if whoever is fastest and therefore will start from the pole position in this first session will be the same car that scores maximum points in the second of the period. So yeah, tune in, stay tuned, I should say.
Yeah, that's a good point that Jeremy makes there. We've not seen this before because we had a qualifying a unique qualifying format at the Rolex 24 Daytona, where part of the row before the 24, which was the weekend directly prior to the big event, was dedicated to qualifying, and then a standard qualifying, if you will, that set a grid. But then we had a qualifying race, and therefore when we got to the race, built up to the race week itself, there was only 3 practice sessions for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship. So we're seeing this in action for the first time. Shea has got an over and under on how many teams she thinks are going to mess this up because they haven't read the regulations properly. It's a learning process, I think, Shea, is what you're suggesting to us.
Yes, the best way to learn is to do things wrong and then figure it out from there, right? Isn't that most people's principle? But would you like to know who some of the qualifying drivers are? Because some of the teams actually did get back to me before the session even began.
Copy, let's have a go.
Okay, we have, let's go numerical order for the ones that got back to me. Madison Snow is in the number 1 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini. Zach Robichon is out there, well, not quite yet out there, but will be out there for the Pfaff Racing Porsche. That's the beautiful plaid liveried one. For the Lexus Pride, it's Frankie Montecalvo in the number 12. Hopefully all the wheels stay on his car today. He had a bit of an incident last night during night practice where the right rear tire came separated from the car. And teammate Aaron Tielitz, who's always very fast around this place as well. Lexuses are a good bet for pole position, but they're going to have to fend off the guy who got pole here in November. That was Jan Halen. So big eyes on that Wright Motorsport Porsche. Ian James is in the number 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. That's for you, Sarah Rigby. We've got Daniel Morad, who's driving once again in the Mercedes for Allegra Motorsport. He finally did get off the phone. I know the team was a little bit miffed at him last night for talking to us when he should have been getting ready to get in the race car, but it was all good. John Potter is in the Magnus Racing Acura for this qualifying session, and Kenny Habul is in the, well, very St. Patrick's Day Mercedes, the number 75 for Sun Energy One. It's Christina Nielsen and Rob Ferriel in the 88 and 99, respectively, Team Hardpoint EBM Porsches. And then Robbie Foley is once again aboard the Turner Motorsport BMW. This one only bearing 1 livery today, so it's a little bit less confusing for Robbie for the moment.
Yeah, Robbie changing race suits as well, because he's got a half and half race suit for the Michelin Pilot Challenge, which will be in action for the Alan J Automotive Network 120 for Michelin Pilot Challenge later on today. We'll have that live for you in sound and vision as well, wherever you are in the world, joining us with fabulous pictures or in audio only for this IMSA WeatherTech GTD qualifying at Sebring. Just remember, it's a Saturday race. If you can't settle down and watch it all, and you have to move around, if you're in North America, Sirius XM will be taking our broadcast. Full details on their live sport pages, and I'll give you some more details of that tomorrow as well. Or you can get us on RS2, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. That is the home, the 365 or whatever days of the year there are in a leap year, day home of IMSA Radio, and that's via imsaradio.com. That's also where you can get the live video streams as well when they are available, which they are for this session. A bit of an overcast of the far side of the circuit, keeping the temperatures down just a little bit. 22 Celsius in the air and 21 on the race circuit, so considerably cooler than what we've seen in the last few days. Sirius 216 XM392 for the whole of the race without interruption on Saturday, tomorrow, from here at Sebring. Plus we'll be talking to the Central Florida area on WWOJ as well, with our usual link up to those guys. Well, I say that, I'll wait to hear from the responsible adult, but I presume we will be, their FM service. So Ian James goes to the top for Heart of Racing team in the Aston Martin Vantage number 23, 203.481. Jeremy Shaw, what would we expect to see in this session, in these conditions, with these drivers behind the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, last year's for the 12 hours, which was in November, the pole sitter then was Jan Heylen in the Porsche at a 2:08. So that record around here was actually set in GTD back in 2018 by Daniel Serra, Brazilian, in a Ferrari, 1:58.7. We haven't got anywhere near those sort of lap times in the last couple of years here in GTD. But that 2:08, that's kind of the mark I think everybody's going to be chasing today. But the fastest lap of the sessions so far has been set, but was set yesterday in the first session at 2:04. That was by Bill Oberlin in the Turner Motorsport BMW. That's the quickest time of the week so far in GT Daytona.
Early running, but half the session almost already expired. Long lap here, over 2 minutes. So Heart of Racing, Paul Miller Racing, Magnus with Archangel, Team Hardpoint, Allegra, second of the Team Hardpoint cars, as Turner Motorsport and Robbie Foley goes to the top in the 96 BMW.
Quicker time, so that 2:01.8 there for Robbie Foley, just his second flying lap around here. So I think there's definitely more to come, and conditions pretty good right now. You know, the sun is out, it looks a lot brighter than yesterday. There's a lot less wind, I think, than yesterday, and not as hot either. So conditions right now, John, I think are pretty good. I think we're going to see times potentially in the mid 2 minutes. Whoops, that's not so good. That's Zach
Robichon,
car, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the FAF car. Zachary Robichon on, I think, on his out lap or his first flyer, has gone straight on at what looks to be tower. Is that 13, Jeremy? Where he's
I think
gone up there?
It is. It's coming through 11 and 12 here, so yes, I think you're right.
Just missing his braking point. You come through the kink, and maybe got his left-hand Michelin's on the grass there, Jeremy.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I think as he hit the brakes there, the left-hand side tyres were just a little bit on the dirt or on the edge of the racetrack there. There's no reason it isn't a curb at that point in the racetrack. It's very easy to make that mistake. You're concentrating on the right-hand turn coming up ahead of you, and I think when he got on the brakes, the car was just a little bit further left than he'd kind of anticipated. But he's able to get that car back out again, and no yellow flag, so that's certainly good news for everybody else, because we hadn't yet completed the minimum 10 minutes. The fastest time is Frankie Montecalvo in the Lexus car number 12 at 2:02. Jan Heylen now to the top at 2:702, so fractionally quicker than his pole sitting time from last November.
It's pretty good, pretty impressive. Jan Heylen, who's been super competitive for all of his career, doesn't matter whether it's practice, qualifying or the race. He's making some very feisty moves, even in the opening of the practice session on, what was it, Thursday now in free practice 2. And he's got a half a second advantage over Robbie Foley, the Turner Motorsport. Porsche, BMW, Lexus, Lamborghini, Aston Martin, Mercedes, Porsche for the top 10. And as I say that, Aaron Telitz goes up in a second for Lexus. So it's now Porsche, Lexus, BMW, Lexus in the top 4. Across the line for Ian James, doesn't it?
Purple sector 1s on the next lap as well for both of the Lexus drivers. Actually, Montecalvo briefly purple, then purple for Aaron Telitz, who's currently in second position, as you say, with a 2:983. Jan Heylen still the car to beat in that number 16 Wright Motorsports Porsche. Jan Heylen, he loves Sebring. He's been based in the US. He's originally from Belgium, of course, and a former winner of the British Formula Ford Festival was Jan, which is always a feather in the cap. But he's been based on the west coast of Florida now for many years. Loves coming to Sebring, and as you were saying earlier on, showed great pace here last November.
Yeah, I think he's probably driving as well as he ever has, Jeremy. He's found almost a new lease of competitive life since coming into the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship in the GTD category, and he's clearly enjoying his racing and his driving.
Agreed, and you know, for a couple of years he was serving as a race steward, actually, as a chief steward, a race director for the Road to Indy, for the USF 2000 series, but now able to concentrate on his racing again and taking full advantage of that. Wow, off the road again at turn 13.
Same place for Robichon, same car, same corner. Not quite the same outcome, as he didn't go quite as far off. Is it the old adage of push as hard as you... Well, it's almost exactly the same accident, except he got it pulled up a bit shorter. He did almost get all the way back to the fence and followed his own tyre tracks on the grass, Jeremy.
That time he definitely was on the grey stuff when he was braking. He wasn't on the dirt this time for sure, but I think he just left his brake a little bit too late.
Query brake issue, I would say.
Yeah, query brake issue. Wow. Tim Zimmerman in that number 19 GRT Racing Lamborghini goes fast. It's a 2 minutes .498. Great lap by the German.
Yeah, the green, orange and black car with a new driver in that car this weekend. He was right on the ragged edge at turn 1, exploring the outer limits of the track. Adam, Stephen Simpson stepping in there at very late notice indeed.
He found out about an hour and a half before getting on a plane to come down to Sebring that he would be driving a GT car for the first time in his racing career. So Stephen not out there for this qualifying session, even though he is capable. We are going to get a conversation with him at some point this weekend. Just a quick update for you guys regarding FAF Motorsport. ABS failure for Zachary Robichon, and indebted to Steve Bortolotti actually on the pit box, sending that around.
That makes perfect sense, Jeremy, doesn't it? To see Zach have the same issue. I mean, it proves he's doing exactly the same speed and trying to do exactly the same thing, because he had exactly the same moment at the same part of the circuit.
Yeah, indeed, and but no lap time yet on the board. There is no representative lap for Zach Robichon. He's brought that car into the pit, so isn't going to be able to. He can't. The team cannot touch the car during this session, but I think they will be able to touch it, because they're going to change drivers before the next one. So hopefully whoever's going to take over that car for the second round of qualifying, which I presume will be Patrick Long, he will be able to get back out and try and set time and hopefully get some championship points. The new fastest time, well, they traded back and forth. Jan Halen went to the top very briefly in car number 16, a 2 minutes .382, but now Tim Zimmerman has gone faster again, 2 minutes .223 now, the new benchmark for the German driver in car number 19. And by the way, that car should have been driven by Misha Goldberg alongside Tim Zimmerman and Frank Pereira in car number 19, but Misha feeling under the weather and unable to make the trip to Sebring for this weekend, but he's tuned in and listening to us. He certainly misses the fact that he can't be at Sebring this weekend, but he'll be tuned in. He counts himself as one of IMSA's biggest fans. He just loves the racing here at IMSA.
Make sure we wish you well. Live video as well as sound on IMSARadio.com. Make sure we wish you well, get well soon. Just being reminded, Jeremy, Jan Halen, second at the moment, wasn't he your driving coach when you raced the Jetta TTI at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta?
True, yes, he was actually, that's right. Yeah, he was very helpful too. That was the first time I'd ever driven the car with just two pedals, so it was quite a bit for me to get used to at that stage. And yeah, he was fabulously helpful. I mean, he's been over here, as I say, for quite a long time now, and but for probably 10 years after his dabble in the old Champ Car series, he didn't have a full-time ride for quite a long time, but had all sorts of other jobs in the sport, driver coaching. He was one of the official coaches for that VW Audi series, and he's now back driving on a more regular basis and absolutely loving it.
Half a minute to go. Of course, if you get across the line, which the number 16 Porsche has just done for Wright Motorsport, you will be allowed to finish the lap. Zimmerman goes quicker again, 2 minutes flat, 2 minutes .010. Jan Halen has got across the line. He's got this one to see what he can do, but Zimmerman at the moment for GRT Garcia in the Lamborghini Huracan at the moment holding provisional pole position by 0.067 of a second. Half a second further back, it's Aaron Telitz for Vasser Sullivan leading a pair of Lexus. His teammates another 2-3 tenths further back. Frank Montecalvo, they're both in the pits, as is Robbie Foley for Turner Motorsport, 0.001 of a second away from fourth position. Then it's Daniel Morad for Allegra, Paul Miller Racing. Kenny Abbull goes through, takes the checkered flag, so he'll be no better than 8th. Furiol's gone through in 11th. Is this going to be a better lap for Zimmerman? I think he's still on it.
I mean, they've been trading positions, Halen and Zimmerman, for the last 4 or 5 laps. First one goes quicker than the other one. They're kind of leapfrogging each other. They did it last time around. Halen was briefly back on top.
Halen's lifted off.
Took it away.
Halen's lifted off, and he's being caught by the provisional pole sitter at the moment. But Halen will not get another lap. Checkered flag this time around for Daniel Morad, who goes to 3rd place for Allegra Motorsports. And the Mercedes AMG, big bouncy moment underneath the bridge with, I think at one stage, only the left rear tyre actually in contact with the concrete for Allegra. Striking looking car as the GRT Lambo comes through turn 17 and will peel off into the pits. No need to finish the lap for Tim Zimmerman because he knew that Jan Halen had bailed out of it because he'd caught him up. In fact, Jan yet to come back to pit lane. Adam, quite a few teams bailing out of that 15-minute session early. What was the tactic there?
Well, as I said, if you choose to change tires for the points-paying session, you are taking from your race allotment, in essence. So we had several teams, including the Lexuses, the BMW from Turner Motorsport, the other Lamborghini in the field from Paul Miller Racing, and the Aston Martin from Heart of Racing. They all pitted after only doing a handful of laps. They have brand new sticker tires, in essence, just barely scrubbed in for their professional driver to go out and get those valuable points. I think it was Zach Robichon who said to me earlier in the week, we can always make up positions on the track, but the points are only awarded once.
Yeah, and that is a fair point, particularly in a 12-hour race. We're here at Sebring, it's a long lap anyway, and therefore it really isn't where you start, it's where you finish. I suspect it's somewhere like Lime Rock Park or VIR in one of the shorter races. That might be a bigger consideration, but proof if proof were needed, Jeremy, that the teams are thinking tactically about this new qualifying setup already when they're coming up with the logic of what we've just heard from Shea.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, if you don't think you're in contention for the pole position, then go for the points. You know, it makes perfect sense. I'm not sure I really think that's a particularly good reason to have this sort of qualifying session. I think people just a loophole for teams. But you know, it is what it is, and it certainly makes sense. You know, the champion points. If you'd applied the new point system to last year, it really wouldn't have made any difference at all. But it does sort of spice things up a little bit, and you know, it gives an opportunity for different teams perhaps to take a share of the limelight during even on qualifying day.
Underlining as well the team nature, the nature of team here. We've seen it in other series where they've mandated various drivers to take place, the AM drivers to take the qualifying duties. We've also seen an average setup, which I had to deal with in the FIA World Endurance Championships when I was doing the TV for that for many years. The first time we used it at Silverstone, somebody had forgotten to tell the guys on timing, and therefore we had the list of the car's fastest laps and which driver had done them, but we didn't have the standings in the order of the average of the two of them, so that was a bit of mental arithmetic as we were coming to the end of the end of the session. Actually, it was a single session. You chose when to put your drivers in. That was fun, as you can imagine, under the pressure of a World Championship qualifying session. 88 car carrying the champion Porsche stickers on it. Great to see the champion brand back in motorsport, and particularly back in IMSA for Team Hardpoint Christina Nielsen out of that car. The champion name will return to competition in a more obvious way later on this year as they race to the clouds in the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb with a Porsche GTRS going up the mountain, trying to break some lap records. Mike Peters back with champion and looking after the motorsport side. Not sure where that's going to go after that, and whether we'll see them back in more conventional racing, but they've chosen Romain Dumas to make that attempt in the race to the clouds. Romain with the all-time fastest time up Pikes Peak in the all-electric Volkswagen Racer, based on a Norma chassis, or Duquesne now as we would call it, of course. Romain loves that event and knows all of the curves. Romain Dumas, a champion racing driver. He's not driven for them before, but he's excited, and so are the team. Welcome back to that great Florida name from IMSA competition in the past. Who can forget the 38 Evo Porsche, the 911, and of course the S4s that ran as well, and the Audis. Oh my goodness, great days indeed. Best of luck to Mike and everybody down there, Mitra and everybody down there at Pompano Beach. Let's have the qualifiers for the second part of GTD to start with, Shea. So these are the pro drivers for the points paying drivers in GTD qualifying.
Okay, I'll give you the ones that I know of. That would be Frank Pereira behind the wheel of the pole-sitting 19 Lamborghini. Brian Sellers is installed into the number 1 Paul Miller Racing Lamborghini, so that's both of them taken care of. We've got Patrick Long, the Ginger Ninja, is in the 16 Wright Motorsport Porsche. That's going to be exciting to see what he can do. Lawrence Vantour is in the number 9 Pfaff Racing Porsche. Hopefully they got that ABS glitch figured out. We've got Roman DeAngelis is in the number 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. Cat Legg is in the 88 for Earl Bamber Motorsport and Team Hardpoint. And it is Earl himself in the 99. So it's going to be interesting to see what Cat can do up against Earl. In the 96, it is the GOAT, because that's what they've been calling him all weekend. Turner Motorsports' very own Bill Oberlin with the yellow and blue BMW. For the 44 Magnus Racing Acura, that is none other than Andy Lally himself. 28, we have Billy Johnson behind the wheel of the Allegra Racing Mercedes. And, oh, yes, for the 2 Lexuses, I do have the information on both of them. Thank you to Pam. It is Jack Hawksworth in the 14 and Zach Veach in the number 12 Lexus. And then we move into GTLM territory.
Right, so this is the only time that the GTLMs qualify. So
Correct.
This is for points and position.
Correct. One and done for every other category racing this weekend in effect. GTLM, Team Corvette Racing, not in yellow, which still is hard to get used to, but there is a little bit of yellow on the number 3 Corvette because of Antonio Garcia's Spanish flag and Antonio Garcia's helmet behind the wheel of that car. And, oh, by the way, there's yellow on the helmet of Tommy Milner, too. So Tommy is taking the driving responsibilities for the number 4 Corvette. And for the number 79 Porsche, that is Cooper McNeil going out for WeatherTech Racing in that machine. The 2 BMWs, I still need to find out who's driving both of them. But remember, Connor DeFilippe in the 25 BMW, he was pole sitter here back in 2018. So it would be a good bet that you would put him behind the wheel of the red one.
Kurt McNeil, since last we spoke about him here in IMSA at the Rolex 24, went across to Rimini and the World Circuit Marco Simoncelli for the Ferrari Mondiali finale, World Finals, and didn't come away with the big prize. In fact, neither of the champions from either Europe or the USA were crowned as the World Final champion for the Gold Roof, which was a bit of a surprise. Yeah, they were battling for 4th and 5th position. And Connor. And Cooper came out best of those two. Watching those Ferrari Cup cars around a circuit that's very tight for motorcycles was very interesting indeed. Start the stopwatch. We are counting down from 14 minutes. Corvette leads the field out, and it's the number 4 car. This is the silver with the white stripe over the roof and the white stripe under the doors. Silver this weekend for the 25th silver anniversary of the partnership between Mobil 1 and Chevrolet Corvette Racing at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. You're seeing how this is coming together now, aren't you? We're told that the cars will be back in their regular livery for the rest of the season. And as we've been saying all week, it's not that we dislike it, it's lovely. Car looks great in that silver with the white racing stripe on the 4 and the red racing stripe on the 3. But certainly for Jeremy and I, who are a little advanced in years, it's just taking us a wee bit more time to process it. It's the latency of what goes into our brain to how quickly the brain can process it. So 15 minutes on the clock. It'll be a little while before we get the first meaningful flying laps. We say this when we remember, Jeremy, but worth mentioning again, Gtlm, of course, unique within IMSA that they have a choice of Michelin rubber. Keep them on a par with the GTE cars in the World Endurance Championship and at Le Mans. We don't know what is on each corner of the cars, but what we have seen in the past, Jeremy, is they tend to go out, the GT Le Mans cars, they tend to go out and stay out, and the fastest lap, testament to Michelin's performance parameters, the fastest lap could well be the last GT Le Mans car across the line.
Yeah, it could well be, couldn't it? And certainly we pretty much saw that in GTD. Okay, there was one more lap available to the top two if they wanted to, and they ended up not doing so, or maybe in particular in terms of Jan Hayden, he just wasn't going a little bit quicker on that last lap, but they had been just going faster and faster through their 15 minutes, and I think we're going to see the same again now. It's going to be fun. The fastest lap of the week so far in GTLM was set yesterday by Matthew Jaminet, actually, in the number 79 Porsche. The Porsche was quickest, I think, in all 3 sessions, and at 56.563 was the best time yesterday. That was set in the night practice session, the final practice, 3rd and final practice session of the day. The lap record, qualifying lap record, was set last November by Antonio Garcia in the Corvette at a 1:55.456. So that's going to be the benchmark we're looking for. That's a full second quicker than anybody managed yesterday in GTLM.
The red flash is the number 3 Corvette. Tommy Milner getting a lot of energy into his Michelin tyres early on his outlap, getting very sideways and squirrely indeed, coming out of the 345 or through the 345 complex before you hit Big Bend. But gathered it all together and has actually a huge amount of real estate around him. It's his teammate who's the closest car behind him, got the 99 Earl Bamber Team Hardpoint EBM Porsche, but that's already going through turn 17 as he's halfway down the back straight. Then his teammate, as I say, at a bit of a distance there, not seeing them hook up and doing any drafting down the back straight. Too easy to get it wrong and mess up both of your laps, I suppose. Across the start-finish line for Tommy Milner, turn 1. Corvette looks pretty balanced and well planted through turn 1, Jeremy, compared to some of the cars we've been through there. Yes, it's moving around, but my goodness me, it's not at all having as hard a time, particularly on the exit of turn 1, as some of the other GT cars we've been watching this week.
True, and balanced and planted are 2 terms that you don't really often use at Sebring, because
very right.
This track is. But yeah, it does look good, doesn't it? And, you know, I mean, gosh, yeah, they've been working on these cars now. It's hard to believe it's only the second year for this car, because I say that only because the car was so good last year right out of the box. But now here for a second year, you know, you're going to expect the car is going to be quicker than it was for the first time around. But the car does look very, very good indeed. And it was a great year last year for Corvette Racing and for Antonio Garcia and Jordan Taylor, who came away with the championship, and they're looking to repeat again in 2021. That's the goal.
Got to think they're still finding things about this car as well. When the car is brand new, you make strides. It's when you've had the car for a wee while, those incremental gains get smaller and smaller. Good news, by the way, if you are a Corvette fan in Europe, although we'll not see these GT Le Mans cars because there isn't a GT Le Mans category in IMSA next year. Corvette making no bones about the fact that they want to continue racing these cars. They've invested a lot in them, and they are still new to the category. It's GTE in the WEC, and at least selected races in 2022 for Corvette in Europe. So great news if you are a follower of the bow tie over in Europe and in the WEC. Could mean, of course, bizarrely, that if things get back to normal and we get WEC back in the States for Super Sebring, you might be seeing the Corvettes racing here at this time next year, but in the WEC and not in the IMSA competition. Another little wide moment for the number 9 FAF Porsche with Lawrence Vanter behind the wheel. Only 8th quickest for that car at the moment. That was the one that had the ABS issues for Zachary Robichon in the first part of its qualifying in GTD.
Game here now, 155.0, the opening gambit for Tommy Milner in car number 4. That's a new qualifying lap record, 155.4, the old mark set last year by Antonio Garcia. So exactly as we were saying, you're generally going to go quicker on the second year with of experience. Good conditions this morning. It's cooler than yesterday, much less windy, and 55.044 for Milner. Colin De Filippi 155.062, so just 18 thousandths of a second between the number 4 Corvette and the number 25 BMW on the first flying lap. That's remarkable.
That is a very, very impressive time indeed. So Corvette, BMW, WeatherTech, Porsche, the top 4. Make the most of seeing these BMWs. We won't see them again for a little while. They're only doing the Michelin Endurance Cup races this year. Team RLL, though, hoping to continue their partnership and association with BMW, working on other projects which might or might not, who knows, let's speculate though, I'd rather be positive, that might or might not include LMDH in a year or so's time.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? And the best lap yesterday by BMW, by the way, was Colin De Filippi in a night practice of 57.2. So he's found over 2 seconds since then. That's amazing. New fastest time, so Antonio Garcia briefly to the top with a 154.951. Tommy Milner, though, quicker again by just 7 thousandths of a second. 54.944 for car number 4.
Throwing overhand, I think, is the correct terminology here. And remember what we said at the beginning, although we've got 6.5 minutes left, there's every opportunity to improve, Jeremy.
Yeah, De Filippi, I think, came into the pits at the end of that lap.
Yes, he did. Now, they can't touch the car, Shea, so that's not going to happen. And meantime, Jack Hawksworth goes to the top of GTD with a 59.2, sub 2 minutes for the GT3 cars. And we've got now 3 sub 120 second times for GT Daytona, but a almost 7/10 gap between Hawksworth and Perella. Well, there's been times, Jeremy, when we haven't had 7/10 between the top 10.
Yeah, that's a really, really good lap time there for Jack Hawksworth. That's the best time around here, other than a couple of years ago when the pole lap record was set by Daniel Serra. Just a few tenths quicker than that. That was the best of 158.7. So within half a second of that is Jack Hawksworth, and that's a really good lap for the Englishman in car number 14.
Vantor goes to second in the FAF Porsche That was the car that had the issues earlier on. Now, this is for points, not for starting positions, remember, as Hawksworth pits. But Pfaff Motorsport looking for second place points there with a 59.6. So has brought that gap down as Hawksworth comes into the pit lane. Mauro Engel is going back out again. That's a sterling effort from Banter, assuming that they've still got some issue with that car. Is it parc fermé between the sessions, Shea?
No, not for GTD.
Right, okay.
After this session, it is parc fermé, though. They can't, in effect, the cars have to go through tech before they can touch them again.
Okay, fine. So maybe if it was something that was either a plug-in or a fuse or something like that, it could be sorted. Oh, off the circuit at turn number 10. That is the number 88, Catherine Legg, Hardpoint EBM Porsche. Turn 10, a bit of a Porsche graveyard, Jeremy. One or two of them having issues down there.
Yeah, indeed. We saw Zach Robichon twice there in the earlier session, didn't we? And problems there. But the other Porsche, the number 9 car, Lawrence Vantour.
It's the same incident for Cat.
Yeah.
Exactly the same incident. Now that is very odd.
That's at turn 10, isn't it?
Yes, sorry. 10. Yes, it is 10.
So
yes,
a couple of corners before, but I mean, they're very similar corners, and certainly, I think the cause was similar as well. I don't think the good news is she didn't get into the tyre barrier. There's not an awful lot of runoff there at turn 10.
But we'll have a bit of dirt on the Michelin tyres. Great to see Catherine back, restored to full fitness. She's worked exceptionally hard. Very nasty accident whilst testing in the south of France at Paul Ricard in a P2 last year, and did all the rehab. Back just as competitive as ever, and not, by the way, put off at all about prototypes. Still wants to go to Le Mans, still wants to compete in a prototype car there. New fastest lap at the top of the field, 1:54.927. Jeremy Shaw, yeah. Tonio Garcia, top of the shop.
Yeah, he managed to find 24 thousandths of a second. That was enough to take him from 7 thousandths behind Tommy Milner to 17 thousandths ahead of him. So great lap by both of these two. And Conor De Filippi just did that one flying lap, Conor. One and done. He's already in the pit lane. Tommy Milner is already in the pit lane in second position. Jack Hawksworth, who set that fastest time in GTD, he also is into the pit lane. And Hawksworth recently had a birthday. 30 years of age is Jack.
No.
I can't believe he's 30 years of age already. But great lap. He's showing that old age, even if he hits 30, it's not slowing down Jack Hawksworth, is it?
Oh dear. That just makes me feel it. That's as bad as telling me about children and grandchildren of people we've commentated on. When Jack Hawksworth was 30, that does not make me feel good at all. I tell you one thing about the Corvettes, Jeremy. The new C8R, new last year. Pretty much everything that could be changed on that car has changed. The engine's moved. The very different aerodynamic outlook to that car. What hasn't changed is the ability of Corvette Racing to put out two very fast race cars. We used to say if they were half a second apart, that was probably more than we'd expected. Well, at the moment, 0.017. No favouritism in that camp, as it ever was.
Absolutely right, and it's amazing to think now that the oldest driver in GTLM is actually Antonio Garcia. He turned 40 last June, and here he is. He's just driving. I think he's driving better than ever in his career. He's been a star for a long time. And Antonio Garcia comes across the line again and does improve once more. 54.910 there for Garcia, so he clips away another 17 thousandths of a second on a lap. 3 tremendous laps from the Spaniard.
Well, he's doubled the gap, hasn't he, back to his teammate? Exactly, doubled it. But by the way, we should say the BMW in third is only a tenth of a second further back. So we're talking, and even if you go to third and the Jesse Krohn car, you are talking about under 0.4 of a second between the top 4. That's how close it is.
Yeah, very cool. Interesting to me that Porsche elected not to show its hand during this qualifying session. Cooper McNeil, of course, sharing that number 79 WeatherTech car with the two factory Porsche drivers who, by definition, are going to be quicker, Matthew Jaminet and Matt Campbell. But it is Cooper who qualified that car and will start it. So you're not worried about the championship points, certainly in that number 79 car.
He will have to do an hour in the race. That's minimum time. I would suggest, knowing what we know about Porsches from years gone by, in that works, guys, as the checkered flag is out, by the way. Nobody yet come across the line. But I would suggest that that Porsche will be getting set up to the absolute optimum for when the sun goes down. And that is also when the factory drivers will be in that car. And that's what it will be like. It might be a bit of a handful early on, it might not have the pace early on, but if they stay on the lead lap in Gtlm, they will be in with a chance. Despite the fact that that now is a privately entered car, I think they've got a real chance here. There's something about Porsche and Sebring and the darkness, those cars come alive. Hawksworth must have gone back out again, as he did, but did improve. 1:59.247, so that is the best time, and therefore the points for Hawksworth and Vassar Sullivan in the Lexus number 14. Vantor takes the points for Pfaff Motorsport in second, and GRT in third. Points and position in terms of the qualifying in GT Le Mans, it's 2 Corvettes, 2 BMWs, and then the WeatherTech Porsche. It is 3, 4, 25, 24 and 79. I think swap those 2 BMWs around. They'd been in numerical order, I'd have been much happier. Mauro Engel goes through for Sun Energy 1. And did he improve on that last lap? He did improve on that last lap and puts himself into 4th position in terms of the point scoring positions. Catherine Legg has come through, Brian Sellers has come through, and so GT qualifying then is complete. GTD position set by that first session, points by the one that we've just witnessed, but it is an all Corvette C8R front row for their GT Le Mans swan song at Sebring, and that will make a lot of fans very happy indeed. The world's race car. Get told off for saying America's race car. It's the world's race car and sports car. Everybody knows Corvette, like everybody knows Ferrari. So many big brands and fan favourites that we are so fortunate to have in IMSA and in sports car racing in general. Mauro just having a good look around the car at the end of pit lane. One of these days he will end up sitting on the back of a car as it leaves pit lane. I just know he will. Shea Adam has this VP Racing fuel pit and paddock report.
With Jordan Taylor. Jordan, pole position for Antonio. It's his 7th, which means that you're going to have to go out and get your 7th next time out. But this means that you guys extend your points lead a little bit further. How does that feel?
Yeah, actually I forgot about the whole qualifying points thing, but that's just a little positive as well. But yeah, we've obviously had a good, strong car at Sebring the past year. Now it's our 3rd pole as a team. So yeah, obviously things are going well. It's a long race tomorrow, but it never hurts to start up front.
For sure, and particularly with the split start, that's got to help you guys even more, not dealing with the prototypes off the start. Have you talked about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, that's just going to be a constant issue all race long. They've got the split start, and then they're going to split the restarts as well and put all LMP3s in front of us every time. So I think that's going to be a bit of mayhem and a bit of a nightmare for most of the GT pack, having to deal with that throughout the race. But should make it pretty exciting, and as long as we kind of stay out of trouble for the first 10 hours, I think we'll have a good car to fight at the end.
You got the big endurance race win at Daytona, but Corvette Racing and the C8R still need the endurance race win at Sebring. How much can you guys use the information that you accrued in November and also in the race in July to help you with the race here today or tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot here last year throughout the sprint race and the 12-hour. Obviously, the 12-hour, we had a couple issues which were addressed. And was pretty much why we had so much success this year at Daytona, going 1-2 there. So I think coming back here, we did another day of testing, a 14-hour day test. So we definitely put a lot of miles on the car here at Sebring. So I think we're feeling pretty confident for the 12-hour.
Jordan, thanks very much for the chat. Good luck tomorrow, and congrats on further extending that points lead.
Yeah, thank you.
Shea Adam with the VP Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock report. Teammate to Antonio Garcia there. And, well, first part of the job done for Corvette. Antonio Garcia, who will be racing at Spa in the first round of the World Endurance Championship, with Ollie Gavin recalled to duty. Very excited about that. Ollie's not driven with Antonio before, so those two will have to forge a relationship. Being part of the same team, though, so it's not as if they're strangers dragged off the street and slapped into a racing car. And that's just the single WEC outing before Le Mans for the Corvette team. The rather fluid nature of motor racing calendars put paid to the opportunity of Corvette and with Tonio and Ollie running at Portimao and Spa before the team went to, two cars went to Le Mans. Le Mans now, of course, if you haven't picked up on that, and if you're not regular, maybe just tune in for the big races. Le Mans moved to August. No WEC here. They should have been starting their season in 2021 here. Then it got moved to Portimao. Portimao couldn't happen over Easter weekend, so moved back to Spa on its original date, and the prologue weekend for WEC the weekend, or at least the Monday and Tuesday before that. So everybody's calendar's being bumped around. Let's turn our attention now to prototype qualifying. Shea Adam, what do we need to know about this?
Very straightforward. You go out at the same time for points and position. This is LMP3 for the next 15 minutes. So you have two options of driver. You may either run a bronze rated driver or a silver rated driver who is under the age of 30.
Right, okay. Looks like John Bennett is going to be qualifying the core car. Core Autosport number 54 in its traditional grey, white and tangerine under the sun today. Thank you, by the way, to our colleagues at NASCAR Productions up in Charlotte. Been tweaking what we're being sent, so thank you very much. All a bit of changing of settings in the early part of the week for us as well. That's why we have practice. Beautiful afternoon with the air temperature. I'm at 23 Celsius. Track temp about a degree below that. And we are almost ready to go for this session. LMP3's here. Were here last weekend, Jeremy, in the LMP3s for the substantive series on a weekend that was meant to be that training weekend for the WEC. So they've now had their second round of the season, the first being at the Raw, the second here, and some pretty decent lap times put in by the series last weekend rather. Able to speak to Jeremy just at the moment.
Excuse me, John. Yeah, tremendous lap by Tony Kazimets, the veteran driver. Last week, he annihilated the old lap record here with a 2 minutes point. Not very many. I've lost my note now. 2 minutes point. No, 156. Beg your pardon. 156.0, I think, for Tony Kazimets, which was way quicker than the old lap record and way faster than anybody has managed so far this weekend in LMP3 car. The fastest time was set yesterday morning by Jerome Bleckermolen at a 1:56.9. Of course, there's a lot of traffic during the sessions yesterday, so this is really the first opportunity for most of these drivers to go get a clear lap. But of course, being a Pro-Am class, it'll be the AM drivers, or not the pros, who will be going out for this qualifying session.
So just to reiterate what we've seen so far, still a bit of confusion in the audience at the track here at Sebring and further afield. The GT Daytonas are the only ones who have had the big change to their qualifying, with their first session setting the grid, and that has to be an AM driver. The second session then for one of the other drivers is the points paying session, although at Sebring it's a little bit different because there's normally more than 2 drivers, so that gives the issue that we were talking about where we didn't know who would get in the cars. Everybody else to the straight 15 minutes, and that is your lot. Shit.
I'm just doing a little bit of math here. Matt Bell is how old if he was born in 1989? He's 31.
Yeah.
He is shown as being out on track. It's a 30 and under if you're a silver rated driver. So that would be a violation for Win Autosport, the number 83 Duquesne machine.
Right. Well, you predicted that it would be the GTDs that would have problems rather than anybody else, and I don't think anybody fell foul in GT Daytona, did they, Shane?
No, you're correct. Everybody remembered to change drivers in between the sessions. Everybody who ran in the first session ran in the second session. We didn't have an instance of somebody skipping the first session, so that wasn't necessitating a penalty. And I'm not sure about the tire situation, that if anybody didn't change tires or did change tires. I do know that a couple of teams were out running on old tires to try and figure out setups during that last session, but nobody violated the rules as far as I'm aware. But that being said, we're still not going to officially award the points until we get to the start tomorrow, because if you choose for any reason to give up your starting position, which we've seen in the past, it's driven all 3 of us crazy when somebody qualifies on pole and then moves to the back of the pack for change of qualifying driver or tires or whatever, then you give up all your points and everybody else moves up a spot.
The silver under 30s are allowed out there, aren't they? So we are going to see some quick drivers in this session. Yeah, I think you're right that Matt Bell is 31, so he presumably therefore should not be eligible for this one.
No, and he's actually not out there, Jeremy. The driver ID just changed to Rodrigo Salas.
That makes sense, yeah. But in the number 90, excuse me, what car is he driving? The number 7 car, Oliver Askew. He's only 24 years of age, so he is eligible for this session, and I'm presuming will be driving that number 7 car for 47 Motorsports, a deal that came together very, very late for Oliver Askew and Jim Norman, who had been hoping to drive a new Duquesne that Jim Norman had ordered, but the car wasn't ready in time. So a last-minute deal, they called up 47 Motorsports, which was planning to run Austin McCusker, but hadn't been able to find 2 other drivers, and was actually the team was already on its way home again earlier this week. Thankfully, they were able to put a deal together. Jim Norman and Oliver Askew will be driving alongside Austin McCusker, so 47 Motorsports back at this track, and it's going to be interesting to see what Oliver can put together here. Of course, a star in the open wheel ranks over the last 4 years, a meteoric rise from karting to IndyCar in just 4 years. Won 2 Road to Indy championships in both USF 2000 and Indy Lights. Drove I thought, a really good rookie season last year for the McLaren, Arrow McLaren team, but wasn't re-upped with the team for this season, so was out of an IndyCar ride, despite the fact he got a podium position. His first season at that level, I thought, was pretty amazing. But he is a star in the making, and I think he will be qualifying that number 7 car.
Still waiting for the times to come through with about 20 minutes, about 10 minutes to go. 58 to for Oliver Askew, and that is the top time at the moment. Well, that's not hanging about, but do we think we can get better today, Jeremy?
Oh yes. Oh yes. The fastest time yesterday was by Duran Blekeman of 56.9. So I'd be surprised if Oliver Askew wasn't quicker than that during this session.
He's got about 3/4 of a second on the field. Gar Robinson in second place from John Bennett in third, another half a second further back. So big gaps here, but to be fair, Oliver Askew is somewhat more experienced than the people I've just mentioned. I'd expect Rasmus Lind to be a little bit closer. In fact, as I say that, he goes up into second place with the Ligier for Performance Tech, 0.2 of a second away from that 1:58.2, but with time still to come down in this one and done qualifying session for LMP3. At IMSA Radio, by the way, if you want to get in touch with us and use the hashtag RSL Sebring. Good to hear from you, whether you're at the track or further afield.
Young Swede Rasmus Lind finished second for Performance Tech in the IPC race last weekend.
Right.
Along with Dan Gobo, so he's got good current experience here in that Ligier caliber 38, and just a couple of tenths of a second behind Oliver Askew at this stage. Gar Robinson in third place. Of course, at Daytona, Oliver Askew shared the number 74 Riley Motorsports Ligier with Oliver Askew, and they came away with a dominant victory there. Robinson now in his second lap around goes to the top of the charts with a 1:57.5. Really good lap by the former Trans Am 2 champion.
Love the sound of those V8s, Jeremy. A little bit tweaked this year, the venerable VK engines.
Yeah, the bigger engine this season, 5.6 litres as opposed to the 5 litres in the past, and I don't think they have any more horsepower perhaps than last year's engine, but they are certainly pretty quick, and the drivers I think are loving the extra, just a little bit more torque that they have, and hopefully, I mean, reliability was always fine with them, but they seem very, very happy with these new engines. 1:56.6 there for Rasmus Lind. Goes to the top in car number 38 for Performance Tech Motorsports.
Lind, Robinson, Askew at the moment. It's between them still big gaps at the current time. Wind just starting to get up a little bit, blowing across the track again. The number 7 of Oliver Askew, that very distinctive yellow and black car on the far side of the circuit. Around about 7 minutes to go. Number 38 at the top of the shop, Performance Tech, is the orange and black car, still with the naughty naked nose. Absolutely no livery on that at all, but it does have the number. Rasmus Lind at the moment in perfect isolation on the far side of the circuit. Nobody around him, so he can pick and choose his line. Only 7 cars in this category, of course, so they shouldn't really be complaining about traffic. Another quick lap, and this time it's Ollie Askew that goes back to the top, Jeremy.
Yeah, 1:56.490 though for the young Floridian. He's 24 years of age, and he is just about a tenth of a second quicker from Rasmus Lind, who's just gone purple in sector 2 in that number 38 car for Performance Tech.
Oliver Askew bearing down on the Performance Tech car. I wonder if Lind will just back out of it and let him go. Oh no, it's not, sorry, it's not the same car, my apologies. With Ollie just having gone round the hairpin at turn 7. Almost looks like the 47 Motorsport car has got camouflage on it. Nobody wants to see what the shape of the back is. Lind across the line, goes back to the top, Jeremy. They're swapped in chain. This is brilliant, but it's half a second. There are big gaps I expected those two to be battling them out. I thought it would be tenths at the most, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think he probably will be by the end of the day, perhaps. Rasmus Lind using his experience on this racetrack with that second place finish last week, 156.069. That is just fractions outside the best lap set last weekend by Tony Skazimas at 156.027. It's not an official WeatherTech Series lap record, of course, because this is the first time that LMP3 cars have been on track for an official session in the WeatherTech Series, of course, new to the championship for this season. The fastest lap that has been turned here previously, however, in an LMP3 car, that was qualifying for the IPC race in 2017 by the Frenchman Nico Jamin in a Ligier at a 156.844. So that kind of unofficial record already has gone by the wayside, as Rasmus Lind turns at 156.069. Oliver Askew on his next lap does not improve, actually, so he remains in second place. He lost a couple of seconds on that last lap.
Jeremy Shaw with me, John Hino from the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre, Shea Adam, our VP, Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock reporter. Performance Tech 47, Riley, Cole Riley, Sean Creech Motorsport and Win out there on the track at the moment. And I'll tell you what, the two leaders, no. Ollie's being held up at the moment, I think, Oliver Askew. He's got a car ahead of him, which I was going to say, I glanced earlier on and thought it was the Performance Tech car, but it's not. It's the Riley Motorsports car, and finally he's let him through.
Yeah, did a really good job there, Gar. Obviously, he realised that Oliver Askew was behind him. Of course, his two teammates, as we were saying at Daytona, shared the same car to the victory. And the Gar there, very, very respectful, gets out of Oliver's way, allows him clean passage into turn 13. He's got good momentum here. He lost a little bit of time in that sector, Askew, but he had gone purple in sector 1.
And he's still got another 3 minutes to go, so he's got this lap and probably one more to get somewhere close to a, well, he's going to have to get under a 156, isn't he? Because Lind has got a 156.001.
Yeah, so did improve.
Yeah, out to nearly half a second. 2:34 on the clock, so there's this one and one more for everybody. Huge moment of bouncing through the final corner as Oliver Askew tried to get the power down, and as good as the Michelin tyres are, they can't give you forward progress when they're not in contact with anything solid. It's just, it is a unique set of challenges for the chassis and suspension engineers of any race car team that come to a race here at Sebring. Last 2 minutes, Lind quick, personal best in sector 1. See if he can keep that up.
2 tenths quicker than Lind was Oliver Askew. That car Oliver Askew working really, really well through turn 1. It's a very short first sector. It's really just turn 1 and then halfway down to turn 2. And Oliver Askew carrying huge speed through turn 1, but not quite got that Duquesne chassis working as well as the Ligier on the rest of the racetrack. But he's certainly trying now to put another lap together and trying to challenge Rasmus Lind for the pole position. Gets a power cut on the hard coming out of tower turn. The car steps a little bit sideways. Nice easy correction there for Askew.
Drivers really impressed with these LMP3 cars as a entry level, if you will, into international prototype racing. They've got good downforce, they've got great power. You don't often see a downforce car getting properly four-wheel drifted through there, but that's exactly what Oliver Askew was doing, balancing the car on the throttle, little inputs to the steering wheel as well. He'll get one more lap after this. At the moment, it's Ligier, Duquesne, Ligier. Duquesne were on pole for Daytona with Mühlner Motorsport. And a 56.001 is the aim for Oliver Askew. Let's wait for him to come across the line. I don't think he improved that time around. No, he didn't. He did a 57.4. Waiting to see where the 38 car is on the track, just going onto the back straight now. So checkered flag this time for the provisional pole sitter Rasmus Lind. And turns into the final 180-degree, near enough, right-hander. Heads to the line. Checkered flag. It was Lance Wilsley who saw it first of all for Sean Creech Motorsport. 56.007. My goodness, within 6/1000ths of a second, Jeremy. That's 2 laps that would have put Rasmus Lind on pole position, first and second best time. Now, what about Oliver Askew for 47 Motorsports on the far side of the circuit now, heading through Tower Turn, uses all of that new concrete at the end of the blue and white painted curbs, and now into the serpentine run to turn 16, the right-hander at Le Mans, through the Jean de Bihan bends. It's all about balance here. Use as much of the road as you dare, dangling the left-hand side Michelins over the raised curbs there in the middle of that section. Now he's on the back straight. Nobody there around him. This is the last lap. He is quickest in the first sector. He's done a personal best in the second sector. What has he got in the third sector as he turns in the front end of that car? The 47 Motorsports machine looks very positive indeed. Now, how does it ride the bumps? Little bunny hop right in the middle, all the way out to the blue and white bands at the edge of the circuit, across the line for Oliver Askew, and he, 0.065 of a second, a 1:56.066, his best lap, but the blink of an eye between first and second. And Performance Tech take pole position for LMP3. Cracking stuff from the 2 young chargers. Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, great fun. 2 great laps there from Rasmus Lind. A valiant effort from Oliver Askew in the Duquesne, but it's a Ligier and the locally based team from South Florida, Deerfield Beach in Florida, Performance Tech Motorsports. They've had a lot of experience, a lot of success here at Sebring in the past, and the young Swede Rasmus Lind, another star of the open wheel ranks. He's finished second in both the USF 2000 Championship and the Indy Pro 2000 Championships over the last 3 years. So a real talent is Rasmus Lind, and showing it today with 2 great laps, good enough for the pole position in LMP3.
Yeah, good point, Jeremy. Even with that improvement on the last lap, Oliver did not get close enough to take the second best time. And when you consider there was 0.065 of a second between them, that shows you how good and consistent Rasmus Lind was. He was right to keep pushing the young Swede, Jeremy, on that last lap, because Ollie literally half a centimetre here, a centimetre there, a couple of inches in another place, that could have been turned over. So Lind was absolutely right to keep pushing on that last lap.
Yeah, he really was, and that was a fun qualified session by those two. They'll both enjoyed that one. Gar Robinson, an excellent effort to be in third position then for Riley Motorsports in the Ligier car number 74, within a second of those 2 young bucks, I mean, who are really, really talented. We know they are. So that's a great effort by Gar Robinson to be third fastest in the number 74 car. John Bennett ends up 4th then for Core Autosport. Good run for John, ahead of Jim Cox, Lance Wilsey and Rodrigo Salas.
There we go. Give me that one again.
A number of people tweeting us to say, was the 47 Motorsport car designed to operate with only 2 wheels touching the road? Really up in the air around sunset on the fastest lap. Yeah, absolutely right. At IMSA Radio, hashtag RSL Sebring. So it will be Rasmus Lind then on pole, and with the points for Performance Tech Motorsport. So Ligier strike back after the Duquesne pole position at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona at the end of January, or in January, should I say. Performance Tech 47, Riley and Core. A really good performance from Gar Robinson, as Jeremy mentioned. Rasmus Lind obviously is a fast learner in every sense of the word fast, and indeed learner as well, Jeremy. He's got up to speed very quickly, thank you very much.
Yeah, he has. And just oodles of talent here. And Rasmus Lind, having got this opportunity, he wasn't sure he's still pursuing or wanted to pursue a career in the open wheel ranks. He had his eyes set on the NTT IndyCar series when he first came over here, 3 years ago. But he was planning on doing Indy Lights last season, but that season was cancelled, and he got the opportunity here to join to Brenton Gren O'Neill's Performance Tech Motorsports team in some of the LMP3 races. Took that opportunity, absolutely loved it, and he's very much part of this team now, and he rewards him with his first pole position. Really fine effort by Rasmus Lind.
So we're round about halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through. Let's call it 2/3 of the way through our qualifying coverage for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, 69th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. We'll have full coverage tomorrow in sound and for those outside the US in vision as well. Of course, if you're in the US, it's our colleagues at NBC SN who'll be taking you through all of the action. Although, of course, you can still tune in to us on RS2 IMSA Radio, or if you're moving around on Sirius XM. And if you are so equipped, I do understand that you can't sit in front of a television always and watch. It's Sirius 216 XM 392. No breaks, of course, in that full flag-to-flag coverage. Shea Adam has this VP Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock report with the qualifying drivers for LMP2 and DPI. What do you know, Shea?
Ooh, well, that would be the helmet of Luc Duval going to qualify for the Mustang sampling Cadillac. That is a genuine surprise because one of the co-drivers, Tristan Vautier, is a 2-time pole sitter at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, once in GTD and once overall, so he's pretty nifty around this place. I also noticed a gold helmet aboard the Chip Ganassi Racing Cadillac. That is Renger van de Zande. He stepped it up from the normal yellow and has put completely shiny gold paint onto his helmet for this weekend. So that'll be an exciting car to keep an eye on. That car, which was running so well up until the very end of the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. I believe that is the helmet of Mr. Jim McGuire behind the wheel of the 22 United Autosport LMP2 machine. So good luck to you, Jim, out there around the racetrack. And should explain, by the way, this qualifying session, points and positions for DPI and LMP2. But if you are an LMP2 driver, you have to be a silver or bronze. So there is that little bit of rule bookness that you have to pay attention to. Who else did I see going out there? Oh, yes. The last time Meyer Shank Racing went qualifying in a prototype at Sebring International Raceway, it was Mr. Olivier Pla who put the car on pole for them. Well, guess whose helmet's behind the wheel of the pink machine from AutoNation? That would be correct, Mr. Olivier Pla. So that is one car to keep your eye on. As for the rest of the cars in the field, I'm not quite sure who's doing the qualifying duties for them, so we're going to have to wait and see what the timing screen dictates.
Thank you, Shea Adam, with that VP Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock report. What we do know is that we will find out who leads the cars round to the green at a little after 10 o'clock local time tomorrow, by the end of this session. At least we say that, hopefully with no post-qualifying tech infringements from the teams. So, Jeremy, we are up with the front end of the field now, and there should be 12 prototypes out on the track, so plenty of room around the almost 3 3/4 of a mile lap of Sebring International Raceway. And where's your money then? What do you reckon? What if anything can you read from what we've seen this week in, first of all, let's say LMP2? That might be a little bit easier. Might be a little bit easier, yes. The fastest time, the fastest car, I think, for most of the sessions has been the number 52 PR1 Matheson Motorsports entry. The fastest time was set yesterday morning by the Danish driver Mikkel Jensen, the car number 52, at a 1:49.920. That's just a couple of tenths of a second outside of that record that was actually set a couple of years ago by Matt McMurray at a 1:49.7. But again, I think conditions, it's certainly warming up today, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of lap times we're able to see. In the prototype, in the DPI ranks, the fastest lap yesterday was also set in the morning by Felipe Nasser
number 31 Reland Engineering Racing Cadillac at a 146.212. The lap record in qualifying was set also a couple of years ago, 2019, by Dane Cameron in the Acura for Team Penske, as it was then, a 145.865. The fastest time in qualifying last year was actually set in the July race by Pipo Derani, 146.7. I think we're going to be a good bit quicker than last year's fastest pole time here. But is Dane Cameron's record under threat? We shall see.
Jeremy Shaw with me, John Hindhaugh, in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre as we go green. Perfect timing from Mr. Shaw as ever, as he finishes his thought just as the green flag is waved, and out go the cars. It was the Koenig Minolta Acura that went out first, still the number 10, although with a different manufacturer now. And a lot more blue on the car than what we saw in its previous incarnations. It was from the cockpit back, actually, is that very bright blue. Still the gloss black though over the rest of the car. Looks pretty good. Already off down towards turn number 7. A very interesting nose treatment to that Acura ARX-05 with a secondary wing between the two headlamp pods. And if you notice it actually, I think, even more with the darker colours than you did when it was in the white colour for Penske. But underneath that, if you look carefully, you can see the nose box of the car, and it almost looks like a drop nose single seater. If you forget about the wheel arches and the headlamp pods, the fenders and the headlamp pods, you sort of just look at what's underneath there, where the Acura badge is on the front of the nose itself, and then the shape of the wing there. It's all very clever aerodynamic stuff, and then the secondary wing placed over the top of it, which is in a V shape, a swept V delta wing shape between those two headlamp pods. A lot of work going on, a lot of air management going on, both over, under and indeed through the car. Can't wait to see what concepts the manufacturers come up with for the aerodynamics for the new LMDH. Acura staying on. They'll be developing their car starting shortly. Porsche and Audi as well, of course. And you know that they're going to have different concepts between those two great rivals, although part of the same Volkswagen AG family. But the competition is stiff within VAG. Still, the rumour persists that Lamborghini might jump in as well with an LMDH DPI 2.0, the IMSA version of the global top class of sports cars. Also waiting to find out what engine, what motive power units Audi and Porsche will use, and whether it will be the same one or different, depending on who you talk to at the manufacturers. Audi looking at repurposing their former DTM V8 engine, and Porsche looking to dust off the old Porsche Spider direct injection engine. Both will have a hybrid system added as well. And of course, we've yet to find out what chassis all of these manufacturers will be using, because the new LMP2 chassis have not yet broken cover and been homologated yet. But that has to happen soon, so that the LMDH manufacturers can decide who they want to use and whose partnerships they want to jump into. Smart money for the Volkswagen Group cars is on Multimatic at the moment. Where everybody else goes, big question marks. And what brand will GM use? Currently using the Cadillac, like the number 48 for Ally. Going through turn 17 at the moment. Will it remain as Cadillac, or could that be a Corvette in its next iteration for LMDH DPI 2.0? And Corvette getting to run for the overall in the big races instead of the class wins. You know, Corvette won't be in the GT category next year because that GT category doesn't exist, and for the moment at least there's no GT 3 development for the Corvette. SportsCar 365. John de Geese getting the quotes from Laura Mondrup-Klausner earlier in this Sebring week. Go and read the full story. SportsCar365.com. All options though open for their brands, their platforms as they would call them. Right, let's have a look at some times with just on 10 minutes to go. Whelen Engineering always quick out the box, Jeremy. 1:46.1 for Pipo Derani.
Indeed so, that's already quicker than that car went yesterday. 1:46.212, the best for that car yesterday. It was actually set by Felipe Nasser in the morning session, so the conditions are good right now. The track is in pretty good shape, and that was a good first lap. The opening gambit there for Pipo Derani. He's really the only one who's set a time yet. It's the next best time is in the 51. So Pipo Derani really got on with the program from the get-go here in that Whelen Engineering kind of time.
He doesn't mess about, people. You get your value with him. Basically, plug him into the car, set him off, tell him which way to turn at the end of the pit lane, and he does the rest himself, basically. It's just fantastic the way some drivers can switch tyres on and get into qualifying quickly. It is a real skill. These guys make it look easy. It isn't. And people will say it gets easier with practice, but I still think it's a real skill. It's something that I've never got my head around, banging a new set of tyres on and going out for qualifying. It'd be much better going out with a used set on and just getting quicker through the session, quite honestly, and save the new tyres for the race with me. My quickest lap was almost always my last lap, Jeremy.
Or the in lap, John.
Well, yes, sometimes, yeah.
Pipo Derani just loves this place. I mean, he's just a track of which he's super familiar. He did a fair bit of testing here, even in the open wheel days back when he was doing what was then Pro Mazda, now Indy Pro 2000, several years ago. And he's won this 12 hours race 3 times, a track he absolutely revels in. And already right off the mark there, 1:46.135. And the only guy close to him now is Ricky Taylor in the Acura car number 10 for Konica Minolta. A 1:46.3 for Taylor, 1:46.5 for Olivier Pla, who's of course a 2-time pole sitter here back in the WEC days. Sorry for making that weird noise, which only dolphins and bats could probably decipher. That was because Pipo Derani was leaning on it so hard through the 3-4-5 complex that I'm pretty certain he dropped his outside Michelin's onto the dirt before he headed to Big Bend. And also trying very hard at the moment is Renger van der Zande in the Cadillac for Chip Ganassi. He got very sideways coming through turn 1, and he did well actually to get that car back. There was that bump induced. Oh, I don't know. It might have been curb induced, actually, Jeremy. So he got really close to the blue and white curbs on the right-hand side. But a wiggle in a prototype of that magnitude, at that speed, at that part of the track, Renger's done well to get that car back and not end up in an assortment of parts. Yeah, that was a great save. That could have been a big accident there. He got a bit of a tank slapper on, did well to keep it under control. But the guy is on the move right now. Here's Ricky Taylor, 1:45.571. New qualifying lap record then for Ricky Taylor. A tremendous effort there in car number 10 for Konica Minolta. The car, of course, that already comes in here as the championship leader, having won the Rolex 24 at Daytona. We've got 2 sets of prototypes out there racing for points and position on the starting grid for the 69th annual Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring in an LMP2. Just having gone to the top, the number 11 Win Autosport. Stephen Thomas has put the time in there for that team with a 1:51.103. Puts him about a tenth of a second ahead of Ben Keating, who has said he's now doing the full season in LMP2. Yeah, that's great news. It's a super battle actually. But Stephen Thomas has doing a super job in the Win Autosport car number 11. Stephen's also driving in the Prototype Challenge Series. He was racing here last weekend. Just had an off weekend though in the LMP3 car. Just nothing went his way. He had a whole bunch of drive-through penalties, was really in the pit lane, I gather, during the weekend as such. And in the race itself, he's never really got it together, but he seems to be much more attuned to this LMP2 car, and is quicker than Ben Keating by a tenth of a second. That's a great effort.
Wow. Ricky Taylor's new qualifying record lasted all of about a lap. Improved on now by Pipo Derani by a tenth and a half. It's now 1:45.354. This is going to be knocked down, drag out, isn't it? With 5 minutes left, you wouldn't bet against Jeremy either of these drivers improving again before the end.
No, that's an impressive lap time there. Both are impressive lap times from those two, taking advantage of the conditions as they are right now. The outright lap record here was set back in 2013, back in the mega bucks, the mega horsepower of the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro. Marcel Fessler actually was on the pole position in 2013, a 1:43.886. But you compare this breed of DPI cars to those old prototypes. I mean, particularly in terms of the budgets and the horsepower, no comparison. So it shows, I think, how much development's been in both tyres and chassis technology to turn these laps right now. 1:45.3 then, the benchmark at the moment for Pipo Derani.
Well, a couple of laps left, I would think. Ricky Taylor has at least a couple of laps left, I would say. Comes across the line now and improves and gets it down to a tenth. 1:45.464, plays 1:45.354, 1:46.057 last time around for Renger van der Zande, so he's moved within 0.6 of a second of the front row. So these three drivers now beginning to burn off the fuel, and again, got to give respect and credit to Michelin for giving these guys a set of tyres that continues to deliver the performance levels. They've been leaning on these tyres now for 12 minutes or so, and as the car weight comes down, as the fuel burns off, the cars are getting quicker. And that's exactly, Jeremy, as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly how qualifying should be, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And it's certainly good to see, because the tyres are working hard around here. This is a bumpy track, and it's warming up this morning. Or this afternoon, I guess it is over there. But certainly some really, really good lap times. There's another 45.5 for Pipo Derani, and quicker again for Stephen Thomas last time around in the LMP2.
And Job Ferrano, Town Motorsport number 8, has been reported by Steph as going slowly, and in fact has now gone into the pit lane for that car. A little bit of lappery going on for Renger van der Zande last time around, so he didn't improve. Had to go past Jim Maguire in the United Autosports number 22 car, which sits in 4th in his class at the moment, and hit that at just the wrong point. It might not have helped him on the current lap either, because he had to go through on the exit of turn 17. Ollie Pla, a full second away from pole position at the moment, and therefore 9/10 away from the front row. He gets out of the way of Ollie Jarvis, who's 1.2 seconds away as the leading two are into the pits. So Derani and Taylor, with a minute and a half left, have basically put what they can on the table. Is there anyone else out there in this next lap who can improve? Big bump again. Real roller coaster ride for Ollie Jarvis in the Mazda Motorsports number 55, the E-Deck Sport number 18, the ERA Motorsport car, sorry, for Dwight Merriman, but carrying the E-Deck Sport logos on the honking great fin. That bright blue car's had a spin on the far side of the circuit turn 14 area there. So Van der Zande, Ollie Jarvis, Pla's pitted, Duval perhaps. They're the only ones who can now get onto the front row and displace the two who have pitted. Exit to turn 13, by the way, for Dwight Merriman. 45 seconds to go. And Van der Zande has just crossed the line again. 1:45.8. He's getting closer. He's now only 0.4 of a second away from the front row and just about half a second away from pole position. Now that sounds like a small amount of time, but trust me, it's not like he's whistling to himself and changing the XM Sirius station on the way round. He's pushing hard, as has been Jimmy Johnson in the Ally Cadillac, and he spun at turn 16 on what was looking to be a decent lap, trying to take too much pace in and lost it in the middle of the corner. And that's not going to do that set of Michelins any good. May have flat spotted them. That might be a new set of tyres before we start the 69th Mobil 1 12 hours of Sebring tomorrow. But he's sitting down in 7th out of 7 cars anyway, so that's not going to be... Oh, and he's had a huge shunt down at turn 17. So in recovering that car after the flat spotted tyres, he's wiped both ends off that car at 17. The checkered flag is out. Ollie Jarvis goes through, doesn't improve. Van der Zande is still out there, but now won't be able to improve because the yellow flags will be out in the final corner. And the red flag has come out as well, although time had expired. So very bizarre. Jimmy Johnson then trying to get round and start another lap, I think, after spinning at turn 16, loses the back end of the car. Again, fairly early in the piece, almost a carbon copy of what happened at 16, but this time into 17 and slams into the first row of tyre barriers. And the Ally 48 crew are going to have some work to do tonight. It's not going to be an early night and pizzas for the Ally Cadillac Racing team. Clearly, Jimmy thought there was time for him to get round and start another lap, Jeremy, and that's why he was hustling into turn 17, but just lost the back end.
Yeah, no, I mean, the tyres would have been cold, of course, because they'd have cooled right down after that spin at the previous corner, and it took him a while to get going again. Just carried too much speed into turn 17 there, was on a wide line, just lost it. That was a big crash. But he knew...
Out of the car, Jeremy. Right. Jimmy's out of the car unaided, and he's walking unaided to the AMR rapid response vehicle. Don't read anything into that. That is standard operational procedure. You probably walk back to the pits there, but the medics won't let him. He's going to get into the Porsche Cayenne. Sorry, just important to let everybody know that the driver's okay.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, good to see that, certainly, because that was a heavy impact there. Yes, he is 7th out of 7, but his last lap was just 1.2 seconds off the ultimate pace. That was a really good lap by Jimmy Johnson, making good strides there, really good, getting a lot more comfortable in these cars, perhaps a little bit too comfortable for his own liking. I mean, his best lap yesterday was a 49.1, and he just turned a 46.6. So that's a huge improvement for Jimmy Johnson, and perhaps just getting a little bit confidence, perhaps got a little bit the better of him there. But good strides in the right direction. I'm sure they'll be able to fix this car. They've got plenty of time to get it ready for tomorrow. It's not what you want, of course, to be spending a goodly part of the afternoon. But the good news is it's still early afternoon in Florida, so they've got plenty of time today and into the evening to get that car repaired again for tomorrow, that car number 48.
And just to reiterate, Jimmy Johnson climbed out of the Ally Cadillac Racing machine unaided and walked unaided to the AMR intervention, the Porsche Cayenne AMR safety vehicle. He will get a little check-up after a ding like that. You get rattled around when that sort of thing happens. Shea Adam is trying very hard to get us an interview with one of the two poles that has just been set. Let me give you the rundown. In LMP2, 3rd for Era Motorsport, 2nd for PR Matheson Motorsports, PR1 Matheson Motorsport, and it is Stephen Thomas for Win Autosport who has captured the LMP2 pole with a 51.0. That's a very decent time. And it's Pipo Durrani for Whelen Engineering, the Action Express run machine, the number 31, who has got the overall pole position. Shit.
This is the second race for Win Autosport in the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship, and already Stephen Thomas with the pole position. How proud are you of his effort?
Yeah, I'm speechless right now. We've been working on Stephen just to, get his quality pace up, and he responds brilliantly. we're pulling up to the car right now. I'm at a loss of words. I mean, again, this is a deal that came together very last minute, right before Daytona, and I mean, that's a pull for Win Autosports, first pull. So I'm ecstatic. Just so excited for everyone here at Win Autosports, the crew, and just so proud of Steven.
Looking forward to the race tomorrow. What are you guys expecting? This pole position gives you more points going forth for the championship, and obviously no points awarded at Daytona. That means you guys are effectively championship leaders when you take the green flag.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that sounds pretty good to us. But it's the same goal as Daytona. We just got to run a clean race until the end. But if Steven keeps up this work, which I have no doubt that he can, I think we'll be in a good position to take this one. And I really want to win this one. So I think everyone's expectations are completely blown. We came into this, just trying to run clean races and just get Steven as much time as possible. But I think he's even surprising himself. So everyone's really excited.
We'll go have a little bit of a celebration with him, Tristan. Good luck tomorrow.
Great stuff from the guys there from Win Autosport. The clear-up continues at turn 17. The ever-efficient track services crew have got the 48 Ally Cadillac on the back of the flat bed. Other side of the pit garage, the Whelen car on pole position. An afternoon of mixed fortune, Jeremy, for the Action Express teams.
Indeed, so yeah, good news and bad news there for that organisation based out of Charlotte.
Thanks to Jeremy Shaw, who joined me in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. Shea Adam was our VP Racing Fuel Pit and Paddock reporter, and thanks to all of the technical support from Charlotte, from the track, and of course over in London, Tim Gray, our executive producer. But don't go too far away on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. We've got the Alan J Automotive Network 120 for the Michelin Pilot Challenge coming up later on this afternoon.